Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're gonna check out the patch notes for the Q1 DLC called Ascending Tide. I'm currently on the public test server. Everybody can join if you want to check out like the new mounts, the new house, which looks pretty cool by the way, the new dungeons. It's all here. Right? On eso-hub.com we do already have a chapter overview page for High Isle, which showcases the most important new stuff, as well as Ascending Tide. I will put that one into the description. We already have all the new monster sets. There's 5 new monster sets. 3 are dropping in Imperial City, and then 2 from each of the new dungeons. New sets from Rewards of the Worthy and from the new dungeon as well. So there is a buttload of new sets coming in, as well as new housing items. We're still working on getting like the icons, but yeah, it will be there eventually. And players will take screenshots so you actually can check out how the stuff looks like. Yeah, so it's all here, link in the description. Now, what does the PTS offer? Maybe one more thing. I think on Friday they actually released an article talking about like kind of like hybridizing or streamlining combat. In case you haven't read that yet, it's in the news section. When you go up here to the news, you can pretty much see all the stuff we wrote about recently. Anyway, so welcome to ESO and the beginning of the legacy of the Bretons year-long adventure. This is basically a year-long story. The first DLC features 2 challenging new PvE dungeons, Coral Airy and Shipwright's Regret, where you're tasked with investigating the remnants of the once proud All Flags Navy and assaulting a coastal hideout of the mysterious Ascendant Order. Cool, like always, new items, collectibles, achievements and more. As part of the free base game, we are excited to add account-wide achievements. There has been a lot of discussions about this. So an achievement you earn on one character will be shown as complete on all your characters. We have also added several new PvP item sets that are earned from Rewards of the Worthy and Imperial City. In addition to a unique PvP outfit style in the Crown Store, you will find a new Deconstruct Assistant and multi-rider mount for you to test during the PTS site. I will do separate videos on these two so you can like see everything in detail and how it looks in game. Today I just want to go through the patch notes. 2 new dungeons, pretty obvious. I mean, I will do videos on them too, but I'm always excited to play new dungeons. They're always cool. Then both dungeons, normal and wet version, of course. Each dungeon also features challenging hard modes for each of their 3 bosses. Okay, so each boss has a hard mode again. So it seems they really like that version, because usually or previously dungeons only had hard mode at the end boss. It looks like they want to go with that now all the bosses always have hard modes, which is cool. I like it. Gives more experienced players a bit more of a challenge. There are unique item sets including 2 new Undaunted monster masks only available within the dungeons. New achievements, sure. Now the item sets, let's actually take a look. Maligalik's Maelstrom. Light armor. This drops in Coral Airy, so one of the dungeons. Max Magicka healing, weapon and spell damage. On overhealing yourself or a group member with a direct heal, applying Maligalik's Maelstrom to the target for 6 seconds that deals shock damage to enemies within 7 meters. This damage is based on 33% of the overhealed amount up to 3,300. Yeah, that, I don't know. That doesn't really sound like, I mean, it's kind of like an extra dot. But there is so much better sets to use in that case. I mean, the only time I would actually consider using this if the set effect looked really great. so you can flex. But other than that, I would rather just wear other healing sets. So yeah. Let's move on. Maybe we get some other stuff. Griffin's Reprisal Medium. When you deal critical damage, or first off, 2 crit chance and penetration. That's actually pretty cool. When you deal critical damage, you or an ally can activate Griffin's Reprisal on the enemy for 8 seconds, causing a small Griffin to fly by and deal bleed damage for 10 seconds to enemies within 5 meters. This synergy can be applied once every 20 seconds and scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. And by the way, things like if you go to Griffin's Reprisal, you will also see all the champion points it's affected by. This is still kind of in beta, but it more or less already works. And obviously, I'm not sure. Yeah, let's keep going. I will showcase something else later. I mean, I already know the 2, 3, 4 piece bonus are great, but the problem with this is it would need to deal so much damage for it to be worth, because it deals bleed damage for 10 seconds. The synergy can be applied once every 20 seconds. So it's like it has such a huge cooldown. I don't see this being good set. Unless the Griffin looks cool, I guess. Glacial Guardian Heavy. Armor, max stem, health recovery. Decent. After successfully blocking from an enemy within 8 meters, tether to them for 8 seconds. While tethered, you deal frost damage every second to enemies touching the tether and causing them to have a 200% increased status effect chance. The tether breaks if the target moves more than 12 meters away. Can be applied once every 12 seconds and the damage scales off your max health. So you deal frost damage every second to enemies touching the tether. While tethered, you deal... okay, so while tethered, you deal frost damage every second to enemies touching the tether. So I guess the guy that is tethered will get the increased status effect chance and the enemies to stand in between. That's if I read that correctly. Not bad actually. I mean, the 200% status effect are nice, but I'm not sure if there's just better other sets. Often the problem with new sets is always they are decent, but there's already way better sets that people can wear. We will see how this turns out. I like the idea, but again, you gotta stay close to the enemy all the time. Hard to say, yeah. Let's move on. Cargeda. This is the Monster Mask. Max Magicka, Max Stamina. On dealing damage with a heavy attack, create a whirlwind that slowly moves forward for 8 seconds, growing by 3 meters every 3 seconds. Enemies within the whirlwind takes shock damage and physical damage every second. Allies within the whirlwind reduce their Magicka and stamina cost by 10%. 20 seconds cooldown. This is interesting. I wonder how fast the whirlwind moves. I will test this on the PTS, by the way. I'll also do videos for each set. Especially since it's a monster set, you only need 2 pieces. And you get a buttload of cost reduction. That's insane. Growing by 3 meters every 3 seconds. So it grows twice. I will see. There's probably better sets out there, but this one at least sounds decent. And the cost reduction could be cool. Shipwright's Regret. This is the second new dungeon. Storm Cursed Revenge. Light armor, max magicka, spell damage, penetration. When you deal shock damage, you have a 50% chance to deal shock damage to the enemy and up to 2 other enemies within 5 meters. Okay. I wonder how high this is. What's the base? $1k shock damage. Damage is probably not high enough to really make it worth, but who knows. It's another proc set to the list. Doesn't really sound special, but I also don't know how the damage scales. Like, if it's really high, it might be worth it. And it doesn't seem to have a cooldown either. Well, okay, if it doesn't have a cooldown, and you really build for shock damage, and it procs very often, then it could be good. But I'm sure there is a hidden cooldown somewhere. Spriggan's Vigor Medium, crit chance, max stam, weapon and spell damage. When you deal critical damage, you gain a stack of wild growth for 5 seconds and restore 100 stamina, 10 stacks max. Each stack of wild growth increases your maximum stamina by 222. We basically can gain 2220 stamina when you're at 10 stacks. That's actually cool. It's not better than other sets that exist out there. How much? Oh, how much was? I can't remember the name. There was a Draugr. Was it Draugr's Hulk? Yeah. Draugr Hulk gives me 2550 stamina instantly. This here gives me it over time, right? Obviously, you also restore stamina here. So you could say this here is similar to Draugr Hulk, while Draugr Hulk gives you more max stam. This here gives you a little bit extra sustain as well. Not a bad set, but there's just bad. Like, I rather just stack weapon damage these days. Oh, and the big no critical damage, right? This might be cool on a werewolf, maybe, where sustain is a pain in the ass. And if it can proc every 0.5, I wonder if it still procs when you're at 10 stacks. We will test that in the video. Because if it can proc every 0.5 seconds, and werewolf, like, you spam a lot of attacks, then that would be an insane stamina regen. I'm sure there is something off with this. I will test it. It sounds good, but we will see if it's really good. Burning Tide, max health, max stamina, max health. After successfully blocking, you gain flowing water for 10 seconds, causing your next bash attack to deal magic damage to up to 6 enemies in a 10-meter line. What? And apply major vulnerability for 10 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 10. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds and scales off your max health. Okay, that is... It does have a long cooldown. Actually, it doesn't. The fuck? This is probably gonna... I mean, this is gonna get nerfed. I already know it. Like... You know, necromancers... Most players... play... Or like... There is usually a necromancer in the group for major vulnerability, right? Like, I think in the... They added Kinmarch Cruelty in Deadlands. So, before Deadlands, necromancers were the only class with major vulnerability, right? Then in Deadlands they added this set, which is basically RNG, so it wasn't really worth it. And now they're adding Turning Tide. The Necro ulti lasts 12 seconds. And the Turning Tide lasts 10. But it also has, like, it hits 10 enemies in a 10-meter line. That's OP, honestly. Not only that, it actually deals damage too. And all you need to do is block. So you could just run this on the back bar or something like that. Yeah. I mean, this set is juicy AF because it will be very easy to keep up major vulnerability if you have a Necro or two in the group and a tank with this set. But honestly, I just don't see this going live. Well, actually, it's going live because they want to sell you the DLC and then it's gonna get nerfed 2-3 patches later, probably. So this set is definitely worth getting. Let's move on. Nazarai adds 1206 max health. When you use an ultimate ability, closest 6 enemies within 12 meters have all damage or time, major debuffs and minor debuffs applied to them, extended by 1 second per 25 ultimate spend. This effect will not apply to damage beams or damage tethers. This effect can occur once every 20 seconds. Imagine! If... Does it only work? The effect will not apply to damage beams. Like if somebody soul assaults your ass. Obviously they're saying it doesn't work with damage beams, but I wonder if it like that would have been fun. When you use an ultimate ability, closes 6 enemies within 12 meters have all damage over time, major debuffs and minor debuffs applied to them expanded by 1 second. I mean, there's just... I'd rather just wear a damage set, to be honest. Because most builds reapply buffs and debuffs anyway on cooldown. And here you actually have to time it with your ultimate and all that stuff. That just sounds like a lot of work. I'd rather just wear a damage set or a mythic instead. But definitely a cool concept. I actually like it. So these were the dungeon sets. There is more later down the line. New collectibles, mementos, the Guardian Frozen Shard. We will have, I think we do have them already. Guardians. Oh no, interesting. I will actually have to check. Oh, it's here, the other one. It's here. We will obviously also upload images of that stuff. I'm not sure why this doesn't show up. It's probably because it doesn't... Oh yeah, there it is, okay. Because we do have a fashion section. Here are all the overview pages where we have all the motifs, all the dies. They're all on the site, as well as the mementos. Some of them already do have pictures and even videos. We're slowly indexing the whole game, pretty much. New markings, dies. New achievements, 14 achievements, cool. New motifs, new furnishings, new homes. Now, account-wide achievements. Beginning with this update, most of your achievements will be tracked on an account-wide level. This means that an achievement you earn on one character will be shown as complete on all your characters. You will be able to purchase items and antiquity leads that require achievement completion so long as at least one character has completed that achievement. Okay, cool. Titles are now account-wide, meaning any titles you have earned on one character you will be able to use on characters. You will need to log in on each of your characters to register their achievements and titles. Yeah, okay. Note that while achievements may be account-wide, some things that are commonly tracked via achievements are still tracked on an individual character basis. That includes enchanting rune knowledge achievements, motive crafting knowledge, lore books read, sky shards obtained by character, public dungeon group events, and Drakengard's Sanctum daily. Now, there has been quite a lot of discussion already about this. I personally do think it's the right step into the right direction. Because overall, I actually stopped farming achievements because I used to be a try-hard meta humper, so I just played whatever did the most damage, right? That means like I had some of the trifecta achievements on one character, I had another one on another character, so it's all like spread over every character. So I was like, well, I'm never gonna complete all the achievements on like ever. Now with account-wide achievements, I can actually merge all of these into basically an account, and then I can actually finish if I really want to. That's cool. Some people said, like there was some critique around it saying, well, I like to farm achievements and titles for each of my characters. Or some people said, well, trifecta achievements shouldn't be handed out to characters that haven't been able to get to them. These are all valid points, but I do think for 99.9% of the player base, like it doesn't matter, right? Like for the biggest part of the player base, this is the right decision. It would be cool if they gave us an option, or like if they were tracking how many times you farmed the achievement, right? Like, hey, look, I have gotten this achievement 25 times so far, right? Maybe a tracker on that. That would probably also, once again, validate the progression like of endgame players. But then again, there ain't much of them left. So overall, I'm happy with this change. It's definitely cool. Motive crafting knowledge and achievement links. To aid you in tracking which motives your current character knows, we have added links from motive achievements to their lore book entry so you can jump from the achievement. The lore books, okay, that is a nice little quality of life improvement. Undaunted progression changes. As part of account-wide achievements, we have rebalanced how the Undaunted skill line advances. You will now obtain Undaunted reputation when completing the quests found in instanced dungeons and increased the amount of reputation you gain from completing Undaunted dailies. We have also removed Undaunted guild progression from Undaunted achievements. Okay. So they basically, because what people did, because you could grind Undaunted achievements in one day from 0 to max, you can still do that, right? People were just farming speedrun achievements, the no death and all that stuff in the easier dungeons, and they all gave Undaunted progression points. Instead of that, the quest now counts. So you gotta pick up the quest. Once completed, you get points. And they increased the points you gain through the Undaunted dailies. So they're now worth more. That's actually good. I just wonder how much points you get from completing the quest found in the dungeon. Because you could level up really, really fast with the achievements. If it's the same amount, then that's all good, but I doubt it. They probably like the quest probably won't give as much Undaunted points as like farming all the achievements in a dungeon. But we will see. In the end, I guess it will balance itself out because they also boosted Undaunted dailies a little bit. New PvP item sets. These will drop from rewards of the Worthy. Rallying Cry, Light Armor Crit, Max Magicka More Crit, While Battle Spirit is active, critically healing yourself or an ally causes you and up to 11 other group members within 12 meters to gain 300 weapon and spell damage and 1650 critical resistance for 20 seconds. Each group member affected reduces the weapon and spell damage by 15 and the crit resistance by 83. So this buff lasts longer than the cooldown. Interesting. Uncommon, but okay. And this is I think this is the first set which only works in Cyrodiil. While Battle Spirit. Does that actually... Yeah, there is no other set that actually has that requirement. Critically healing yourself or not causes you and up to 11 other group members within 12 minutes to gain 300 weapons. But like, that's a buttload of juicy buffs. The more players you are, the less power you will get, right? So it's actually a good balance, I guess. This set reminds me of Transmutation. How in God's name do I still know all these set names? Basically, when you heal yourself or an ally with a healing over time ability, grant them 1400 crit resistance. I wonder if this is an AoE buff. Like, is it a circle that you have to stay in? Or like, if you're 12 meters or closer to that player with the set, you will gain a buff and then you can fuck off? We will test that. But that definitely sounds good. It's at least better than Transmutation, and Transmutation alone, like the crit resistance you gain, is already juicy as hell. Hue and Sunder, medium armor, stam, weapon damage. When you deal damage with a heavy attack, gain 1236 penetration for each enemy within 8 meters of your target for 10 seconds. This effect can occur once every... Why are the PvP set cooldowns shorter than the duration? It's usually always the other way around. When you deal damage with a heavy attack, gain penetration for each enemy within 8 meters of your... That's actually decent. But then how common is it that like there's a lot of players around? But yeah, if you like manage to hit 5 people, that's a lot of penetration. Like 6k or something. So while it sounds good, it might be hard to really play out in combat. Because people need to stay close to each other. Enervating Aura, heavy. Healing taken, max health, and armor. When you deal direct damage, you have a 10% chance to create an area under the target that detonates after 1 second. Applying Enervating Aura for 10 seconds. Enervating Aura lowers the health recovery, magic recovery, and stamina recovery of enemy players by 129 per player hit. 15 seconds cooldown. This is basically to screw ball groups. But like, if 10 people are stacked together and they get hit by that, they lose 1290 stamina, magic, or health recovery. I mean, that sounds really strong for like against groups. Kind of, it really looks to me like they're trying to like kill off ball groups, because they have introduced quite a few of sets that screw over ball groups because they lag out the server usually, and them like that's a buttload of sustain gone out the window. If this goes live like this, I'm sure people will complain like crazy. Anyway, let's move. Imperial City, Nunatak, adds armor on dealing. So, oh, by the way, these are monster masks. Basically, in Imperial City, there is a few monster masks that drop. The Lorgoloch, the Destroyer, Immolator Char, then Lady Malugda, which is the new one, Nunatak, another new one, and Swal, the Ever Wakeful. They added these a while ago. So, what does it do? On dealing frost damage, create an area under the target for 6 seconds that applies Chilling Bite every second. Chilling Bite deals frost damage and applies a stacking 25% snare for 4 seconds. At 4 stacks, the enemy is immobilized and gains Major Brittle for 4 seconds, causing the target to take 20% increased damage, critical damage. This effect occurs once every 15 seconds. That is interesting too, because the Major Brittle buff did not exist before. So this is the first time we actually get access to the Major Brittle buff, which obviously is overpowered as hell. However, we also do know there's a crit damage cap that they have introduced. I think, yeah, I wrote a guide on that a while ago here. ESO critical damage, basically showcase where the hard cap is, and it shows all the buffs here. I even made a note that Major Brittle is not active or not available, but now it is, so I gotta change that. Let's read it again. On dealing frost damage, create an aura under the target for 6 seconds that applies Chilling Bite every second. So it's kind of funny that this is a PvP set, but it will be used in PvE. Because people move around very fast in PvP, so the chance that somebody actually stays in this is 0. Chilling Bite deals frost damage and applies a stacking 25% snare, okay. At 4 stacks, I wonder, can snares be applied to bosses? Or like, will it not work on bosses? At 4 stacks, the enemy is immobilized and gains Major Brittle for 4 seconds, causing the target to take 20% increase. I will test that. I actually wonder if we can snare bosses, and therefore you can't apply the buff, but I don't think that's the case. Like, Major Brittle, Jesus. But yeah, let's test this first. Sounds good, but we first have to see. Lady Malugda. Offensive penetration. When you deal direct damage to a target within 12 meters, create an area that after 1 second quickly moves forward and then returns. Dealing shock damage and applying minor enervation for 5 seconds, causing the target to deal 10% less critical damage. Yeah, I don't know, this just sounds useless. I mean, does it? It doesn't knock back the enemy or anything like that. If you do knock down or knock back the enemies, it could be something, but other than that, I just don't see that the crit damage reduction is that good. Like, there's just better sets out there. Baron Fiersk. Oh yeah, I forgot that one, eh? Baron Fiersk, yeah. Stem magic recovery. On dealing area direct damage, mark a target for 6 seconds. Every 2 seconds after an explosive, Scamp is spawned nearby and detonates after 1 second. Dealing magic damage to up to 6 enemies within 4 meters and applying minor timidity for 10 seconds. Draining 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds. Each explosive scam spawned deals 100% increased damage. This effect can occur once every 25 seconds. So it says dealing area direct damage, so it's AoE, but mark a target. Does that mean we can only mark one target, or can we mark several targets? Like if we can mark several targets and they all spawn scams that jump and explode, that's gonna be crazy. Kind of like blighted, like the blast bones from the necro ability, I guess. But if it's just one target, I don't know. And is minor timidity new? Or does that buff already exist? No, that's a new buff. I gotta actually add this, huh? Let me write that off. Let's just say off. Write that up, lol. So yeah, that sounds cool as well. New outfit styles, the Dragon Guard Berserker, sure. Oh yeah, that's a new PvP, yeah? That can now be obtained from Imperial City Vaults. This unique armor visual gives those dedicated to PvP a new look that is solely acquired through PvP activity. Another cool new feature, Deconstruct Assistant. A new assistant, Giladil the Rack Picker, is available through the Crown Store and allows you to deconstruct weapons, armature, and glyph materials while out adventuring. So you don't need to go back to a crafting station. Players in your group and visitors in homes have access to the assistant. Giladil can only be summoned while out adventuring in non-PvP areas. Using Giladil's Services Award inspiration the same way deconstructing items at crafting station does. Cool. The assistant doesn't allow for crafting or refining and will not allow you to access deconstruction for crafting. Okay. Crafting abilities that affect deconstruction still apply when using the system. So you still need to level up the crafting stuff on each character to be able to use it. Not a big deal though. Multi-rider mounts. 2 multi-rider mounts are available on the PTS for testing. The Duo Dynamo, you already have images on ESO Hub. This one. And the other one is the Grand Pillan Drafthor. We also do have images for this. Multi-rider mounts can hold a maximum of 2 player characters, 1 driver, 1 passenger, or between you and the companion. The owner of the multi-rider mount is always the driver, and passenger seats can only be interacted with by an active group member. I mean, it is pretty simple. New furnishings. Additionally, Faustina now sells new Blackwood Journeyman and Master Furnishing documents. Cool, sure. Housing server optimizations. Whatever. Prologue quest you can test. Templates again. Okay. Companions. Increase the threshold for summoning companions in some instances gameplay spaces from 2 up to a maximum limit of 4. Okay. Let's move. Combat stuff. I mean, this was pretty much all the new things. Combat. General. Player abilities that scale with your offensive stats such as weapon damage, stamina will now dynamically scale with the highest of your offensive stats. So that means my two-hander wrecking blow ability now scales off spell damage and max magicka if that's my highest offensive stat. Is that correct? According to patch notes, yes. Weird, but okay, sure. Player abilities that grant Mage Savagery, Prophecy, Brutality, or Sorcery now grant both of their respective versions, such as Savagery and Prophecy, in efforts to reinforce the accessibility of hybrid stat gaining. Hybrid stat, I think this should say gaming. Oh, gaining, okay. Was it crit? Crit search already had. There was, I can't really remember. Maybe biting chaps? Yeah, so biting chaps only gives you Mage Savagery at the moment. And after the new update, you will get Mage Savagery and Mage Prophecy, giving you weapon and spell critical. I mentioned this in the previous news article here. They're pretty much just trying to like hybridize anything and streamline combat. I feel like in 2-3 years, these combat stats will all be merged together. Like, there won't be weapon and spell damage anymore. There will just be damage. That's how I feel. I don't think that's a good thing. But yeah, it is what it is. To an extent, it definitely makes sense. It opens up more options. But it also makes certain other, like Fury crafting options, less useful, I guess. But yeah, anyway. Note that player passives and consumables that grant the minor versions of these have not been adjusted at this time. Okay, this is good. Because sorcerers, like some classes, actually do have, not sure. Which one it is. Let's see if we find it. Yeah. So the sorcerer passive called Exploitation. When you cast a dark magic ability, you grant minor prophecy to you and your group, increasing your spell critical rating by 1314. Only Sorcs have access to this right now. But if they hybridize anything, other classes might get access to it too, making Sorc less viable. So in the end, we might just, especially in trials, everybody will run again Nightblade, like just one class, right? Because you don't need a Sorc anymore for the buff. You might not need a Nightblade anymore for like a stem Nightblade for a certain buff, or a Templar for one of these unique buffs. But yeah, they haven't changed that. I guess they haven't changed that because they want to see how this first gets handled, or because they didn't have time. Dragon Knight, Fiery Breath, Engulfing Flames. This morph's bonus damage taken now scales with a mixture of your weapon and spell damage rather than spell damage and max magicka. The cap is reached when your combined weapon and spell damage is over 9,000. Interesting. Sure. Should be easy to reach, actually. Yeah. Well, not easy, but doable, I guess. Burning Embers. This ability now heals for up to 100% of the damage done anytime it deals damage, rather than up to 75% of the total damage done when the effect. What? Now heals for up to 100% of the damage done anytime it deals damage. What? Yo, that is actually overpowered. in PvE and PvP. Because Burning Embers is really great, right? Like, you actually had to time it. Like, you can really boost the shit out of the healing of this. I think I made even a video like 3 years ago. The healing you got at the end was like just completely broken. But now, this here, like the old version, slash an enemy with flame dealing flame damage and dot flame damage, heals you for 75% of the total damage inflicted when the effect ends. So you only got a heal at the end of the skill. So the skill lasted 10 seconds, you got the burst heal. You could reapply the heal early to get the buff, but then it didn't heal you as much because you didn't deal that much damage, right? But now the heal ticks every time the dot ticks. So you get constant healing. Yeah, that sounds OP. We will see. I don't like. I guess that will get adjusted. But anyway. This change was made to help offer the Dragon Knight more steady healing in the midst of combat rather than locking the heal behind a more burst-like window where it comes in massive clumps. Since much of the Dragon Knight's healing currently comes in bursts while their sustained healing is weaker. Additionally, this will fix many issues where the healing from the current iteration can return significantly higher than intended in some situations, as well as fixing numerous issues where the heal value was incorrect. So I can see, like, when I look at my solo build on alcasthq, the build just got the big fat upgrade. It's basically like wearing a second Ring of the Pale Order, which also heals you while you deal damage. And they are correct. Dragon Knights had an issue with not getting enough heals, right? Like, usually I use Cauterize to heal myself and the Pale Order, and that is usually enough. As well as Burning Embers at the end, right? Like, if I drop low on Dragon Knight, I can either reapply Burning Embers early right now to get the burst heal, or I can reactivate Cauterize to also get the burst heal. Both of these options works. But now I might not even need this anymore. As long as I have Burning Embers active, I just keep getting these juicy healing ticks. So this is gonna be very interesting. I might actually, I'm gonna run the new dungeons, and maybe I'm gonna do it on a DK just to see how overpowered the new Burning Embers is. This is exciting for Dragon Knight. I just think in PvP it's gonna be OP, but anyway. Draconic Power, Spiked Armor. The returned damage from this ability and small now scales off a mixture of your physical and spell resistance rather than spell damage and max magicka to help reinforce its identity of a tank ability. That is actually smart. Volatile Armor, the area of effect damage from this ability now scales off your physical and spell resistance. I can see that this makes sense. Necromancer, Bone Tyrant, Bone Goliath. Pummeling Goliath Morph. Fixed an issue where this ultimate special override did not receive the cost and cooldown adjustment. Okay, whatever. Mystic Siphon, fixed. Skeletal, fixed. Living Death, fixed. Okay, 0 changes for Necro, except a few fixes. I don't know, do I have any complaints with Necro? The only thing I would like to see added to Necros is like a major sorcery buff, because I don't have one. Every time you create a build, like a pain in the butt to get the sorcery buff. But anyway. Nightblade, Killer's Blade, fix. Grim Focus, fix. Half of Darkness, more fix. Refreshing Puff, this ability now heals 1 less time of restoration as a result of the back-end adjustments, but its total healing has been increased. It ticks 1 time less, but healing overall is about. Strive. Increase the damage of this ability and the funnel health morph by 5.6. But why? Why? 1498. 2160. Wait. Oh, okay, okay, that's funnel, yeah. No, but they buffed Swallow Souls too, right? Like, it does say increase the damage of this ability and the funnel health more. If the base skill gets buffed, the other damage ability, like the morph, does also get buffed? I have to check. I'm not 100% sure. But okay, sure. Zork, Crystal Shard, Crystal Weapon. The ability will now replace Imbue Weapon or its morphs after casting to help reduce the amount of burst potential. Like, I mean, that makes sense. Crystal Weapon is this, by the way, in case you don't know. It's basically a copy-paste from Crushing Weapon, because they were too lazy to come up with something else, right? Like, Crushing Weapon is from the Psychic skill line, and Sauce was like, ah damn, Stem Sorks need a spammable. And then they copied the Psychic ability and renamed it to Crystal Weapon. And then players obviously started stacking both of these and started one-shotting players in Cyrodiil. And now one of the other gets removed, right? Anyway, Daedric Mines. Fix, sure, more fixes. Storm Calling, Lightning Form, this ability in its morphs now lasts 20 seconds, a base up from 15. Okay, cool. Boundless Storm up to 30 seconds. Okay. Oh, that's a 7-second buff. That is actually really cool. That's a good change, I like it. Hurricane, the area of effect from this morph now grows at 8 and 15 seconds rather than 6 and 11. Okay. Reduce the damage bonus per tick to 8, down from 10. The total damage bonus will reach 160 and max X up from 150. Okay, cool. Okay, because, yeah, okay, so overall it will last longer too. I see. Next up, we do have the Templar, Aedric Spear, Burning Light. This passive now only deals magic damage rather than magic or physical, but continues to scale off your highest stat. Why? Like, this screws over Stem Templars again, because the champion point actually does it? No, it doesn't, huh? No, it's actually fine. It's fine. I don't know why they remove it. I was still thinking about the old champion point system. I'm not sure if the penetration actually still matters, but I don't know why they removed it again, but whatever. Piercing Javelin, this ability and its morphs now bypass block to live up to their name. So 5 players could throw this at an enemy and instantly kill him through block. Sounds a little bit OP up, okay. We will see. People definitely gonna meme this. Just let 6 people hide and then throw the spear at the same time and adios enemy. Puncturing Strikes. Biting Jabs. This morph now grants major brutality and sorcery for 10 seconds after casting. Okay, cool. Beer shards increase the range of this ability and smorphs to 28 meters, reduce the radius to 6 meters. Small nerf, that sucks, okay. Radiant Ward increase the shield scaling per enemy hit to 20 at rank 4 up from... What? That's a big buff. I know nobody really plays like a Templar tank. But I actually do have a really cool build here where I get a big fat shield with like Brands of Imperium. And if the ward now actually gets you an even bigger shield, that's actually pretty cool. Dawn's Wrath, Living Dark. Reduce the snare potency of this morph to 40 from 60. Good change. Everybody hates snares. Unstable core. Fixed initial. Okay, fixture. Warden. Scourge, Deep Fissure. Increase the duration of Major Breach granted from this morph to 10 seconds. Sure. Swarm. Growing Swarm. This morph now limits the number of active targets you can have it on to 1. Increase the damage of the area of effect portion of ability by 50%. Okay. Green Balance. Increase the healing of this ability and its morphs by 12% to meet the area effect burst heal standards. It costs remain the same since it covers significantly less area. Corrupting Pollen. This ability now prioritizes lowest health enemies with Major Defile. Interesting. Cool. Lotus Flower. Reduce the cost of this ability's morphs to 1350. Jesus, that's a big fat buff. The base ability now grants Major Prophecy and Savagery. Okay, cool. Green Lotus. This morph now increases the number of targets healed to 2, up from 1. It also increases the healing of light attack portion to 1500 and the heavy attack portion to 4500. Lotus Blossom. This morph now increases the duration of the effect to 60 seconds. Ay. Lotus Blossom is the Magicka morph. So we went from 20 seconds to 60 seconds. Mother of God. Green Lotus gets more... Okay. I actually do like the changes. 60 seconds may be a little bit overkill. Let's see what else they have. Bursting Vines. Morph by... Reduce the healing from this morph by 25 to ensure it is not stronger than other burst heals, such as Rush Ceremony. Okay. So, one note. It's a nice buff to this skill, however, the one thing I would love to see is them buff Living Vines. Whenever I play Warden, for example, when I'm in Vateshran Arena and I did some testing, Warden was like the most pain in the ass because most of the skills do have such a short duration, especially the healing one. Like most of the classes have really strong healing abilities either through direct damage or through heal over times. So you don't really need to worry about healing. And with Warden, I feel like I deal damage, then I have to reapply heals. I deal damage, I have to reapply heals. I have to reapply heals, right? Like, so I wish they would increase this year to 20 seconds as well. It's a good start with Green Lotus and Lotus Blossom. But yeah, Living Vines, I think, is the one that needs the extra healing time. Anyway, Crystallized Shield, Fix, Ice Fortress. Increase the duration of this morph to 25. Why even bother, man? Like, just add it to 30. I wouldn't mind them to give us like slightly higher buff times. Because other games have like 2, 3, 4 minute buffs, and ESO is like, yeah, best I can do is 5 seconds, right? Like just reapplying buffs all the time, not always fun. I do understand though that like they can't give us like 3-minute buffs, otherwise things would just get too OP. Two-handed, crit rush, reduce the cost, momentum. This now also gives major sorcery, okay. Forward momentum, increased the final cost, increased the duration. Oh, okay, that's actually cool. Yeah, I like that. So it's more expensive, but it lasts 40 seconds. Cool. Reverse slice, increase the cost of this ability and its morphs to 2400, sure. Oh, and they buffed reverse slash. This morph splash damage now ranks up to 100% of the original hit, up from 78. Cool. Slightly stronger execute and two-hander. One-handed shield, the damage from this ability and its morphs are now considered bash damage and interrupt casting targets. This means the damage will increase with bonuses to bash, as well as triggering events that require you to deal bash damage. It will not, however, inherit the cost reduction bonuses to. Sure, sounds good. I also like. It makes sense that you interrupt. Like if a normal bash interrupts an enemy, why doesn't power bash interrupt? Right. It's a good change. Power Slam, the bonus from this ability, Resentment, no longer stacks up to 10 times. It now simply increases the damage of your next Power Slam. Okay, sure. Whatever. Shield Charge. Shielded Assault, increase the shield granted from this morph to 25 for max health, up from 15. Invasion, reduce the base cost of this morph to 3.5. So yeah, what like these changes are all good. I like them. Dual wield, Flying Dagur. This ability and its morphs now also grant major sorcery. Sure. Flying Blade, the base version of this skill now also grants major brutality and sorcery after casting rather than only after using the teleport. Honestly, who in God's like I don't know a single guy that used Flying Blade after they actually changed it to what it is right now. Because like you can throw the Flying Blade and then reactivate a second time to jump to the enemy. Like I've never seen anyone use this. Bow. Arrow Spray Bombard. This morph no longer also snatch targets. This morph now reduces its cost as the ability ranks up. That's a nerf. Poison Arrow. This morph now grants major brutality and sorcery for 10 seconds after casting. Interesting. Yeah, snipe builds or bow builds didn't really have access, right? Yeah, none of the skills gave major brutality. Yeah. So they finally do have major brutality and sorcery with poison arrow. That's good. That's cool. Restoration stuff. Blessing of Protection. This ability and morphs now follow the area of effect burst heal standards, and as such have increased the cost to 4,860 up from 3,510. Damn, that's a big fat nerf. Increase the healing done from Blessing and Combat Prayer by 36% and the duration by 10. Okay. So it costs more, but it also heals more. Steadfast Ward. Ward ally. This morph now reduces in cost. Sure. Vampire. Increase the damage done from this ability and morphs by 50%. Whatever. Werewolf. Hole of Agony. Fix. Pounce. Fix. Zichik, disability and morphs now all cost 2,700 rather than 2,750 or 3,122 for Magica. These abilities originally met these values on their launch, but due to overwhelming amount of use they saw at the time, they were increased to reach the same relative cost of other spammables. Now that many spammables in the game have received some tweaks since then to further incentivize their use, we are comfortable moving these back to a cheaper cost for those players who want a lower cost spammable at the expense of weapon skill line. I mean, it deals as much damage as the other spammables, but now it costs less. Of course, players will use this one. Or am I misreading something? Sustained by suffering, yeah, I think it's still bugged. If I anyway. No other big changes, I guess. Yeah, so there's a buttload of changes. I'm glad they haven't touched too many class things. It's still a lot. Like there's a lot of fixes, which is great, and some really good changes. The only change I am worried about is the one from the Dragon Knight, like the Burning Ember stuff. It just sounds a little bit too juicy. We will see. So once again, check out ESO-up.com. In the DLC chapter section, Ascending Tide, we have most important information already here. All the new sets, furnishings, the new dungeons, etc. Builds, like always, will be updated on alcasthq.com on day 1, because I will start going on the test server and do tests, usually what I always do. I'll put all the links in the description. Maybe let me know what you think about these changes. I think in general, most of the new content is good. And most of the changes are good too. There's just a few outliers that seem a little bit overpowered. Like if a new set or like the Burning Embers change. Yeah. We also do have a Discord community server. If you want to join, link also in the description. We always post like news here when there is new content. For example, all the new sets, we posted them. New motifs. If there's a new YouTube video, it will be posted here. Or when I tweet something, it's here. It's all here. Anyway, thanks for watching and see you on the other side. Cheers.